Hello everyone. Today we're learning Mציעא Daf Vav. We're going to explain the Daf from outside. So the Gemara is holding in a discussion if Choshud Amamoina, someone who we suspect him that he's trying to steal, is the Choshud Ashvuasa? Do we suspect that if he's stealing he'll also say a false Shvuah? Or we say no. He might steal, but a Shvuah he won't say if it's not the truth. Or maybe no. If he's suspicious on stealing, he'll also suspicious on making a false shvuah. And the Gemara brings a Aryeh from 3 cases that we could see that someone who's suspicious on stealing is not suspicious on a shvuah. And the first Aryeh is from Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman says that if Reuven claims from Shimon 100 pounds, and Shimon says, I don't know what you're talking about, so there's no moed b'miktzah. So from Ikka Din, from the Torah, he's potter from a shvuah. Rav Nachman says, even though Rabbanon were mechayev him a shvuah seses means a shvuah with the Rabbanon, and he needs to make a shvuah. So in such a case, he is suspicious to steal this 100 pounds. And we're not saying he's mishtamet, he's trying to get away and pay later because he was koifa koil, he said I don't owe anything. And we said that if someone says he doesn't owe anything, he's meiz ponov. So we choshid him for stealing this 100 pounds, and we still make a shvuah. What does the shvuah help? If he steals, he might also make a shvuah l'sheker. Elamai, we could see that choshud amamoina loy choshud ashvuah. That's Raya number 1. The second Raya is that in the Brisa it says, we had this case early on, that Reuven owed his workers money, and he told the shopkeeper, give them produce worth, let's say, 100 pounds, I owe them, and I'll pay you. The end of the day came, the shop owner comes to Reuven and says, you owe me 100 pounds, I gave them produce. And the workers say, we never took produce, you owe us 100 pounds. So the din is that the workers and the shop owner make a shvuah to balabais. The shop owner says they took produce. The poyalim said they say we didn't take produce, and the balabais has to pay both. In that case, all the poyalim, all the shop owner, one of them is for sure stealing, and we still say make a shvuah. So we could see that choshud amamoina loy choshud ashvuasa. Case number 3 is the din of Rav Sheshes. Rav Sheshes says that when a shoy mechinam makes a shvuah, let's say he tines that his cow that he got to keep got stolen, and a shoy mechinam is potter for gneva avedis, he says he makes 3 shvuahs. One is that he wasn't pusher, they didn't neglect, he locked the fence well. The second one is that he never used the animal, because if he used the animal and he's not allowed to, so even if it was oinus, he's chayiv. And the third one is that it's not in his possession still. That means we're choshid that it's in his possession and he's stealing it. And afilu achi. So the third raya, I'm going to repeat a little bit because I was disturbed over here. Sorry about that. The third raya is from a case of a shoy mechinam who needs to make a shvuah when he says this animal that he was keeping after got stolen. So Rav Sheshes says he can make 3 shvuahs. First shvuah is that he wasn't posher, meaning they didn't neglect the animal, leave the fence not locked. The second one is shaloi sholach boyad. That means that he never used the animal because he's not allowed to use the animal, and if he uses it, he's chayiv even for ointim. And the third one is sheina bershusi, that's not in his possession, they're not stealing it. So from the shvuah that's not in his possession, that means we're choshid that this shoyma is stealing it, and we still make him make a shvuah. What did the help of shvuah? If he's stealing, he might make a shvuah, a false shvuah. Elamai, we could see that someone that we are choshed that he might steal, we're not choshed that he'll make a false shvua. And therefore, from all these three cases, we can see clearly the choshed amamoina loy choshed ashvuasa. So the Gemara continues, and the Gemara says a new pshat in the Mishnah on Daf Beis. We had Rabbi Yochanan who explains that the reason why you make a shvur in the Mishnah is shelo yeh kol echod toikev taliso shel chaveroi v'omer shelihu. Abaye says a new pshat. Abaye says the reason why we make him make a shvur, we're not choished that person will just grab someone's talis in the street. What we choished is the Reuven and Shimon who come to Beis Din holding the talis and each one saying it's all mine, is that Reuven says to himself, Shimon owes me a loan from many years ago, and Shimon doesn't remember about it. If I come claim him for the loan he owes me, he won't give it back to me. So what I'll do is I'll grab onto his talis and say it's mine, Beis Din's going to give me half, and I'll get back my loan. That's why we make him make a shvur that he should admit. And therefore you also solve the issue of the choshed amamoyna, is he choshed ashvuasa or not. Says the Gemara, if so, if that's a chashad, let him take half the talif. If Shimon really owes him a loan from back in the day, he owns him money. So Reuven deserves getting half this talis. So why do we make him make a shvur? Says the Gemara, no. We are choishesh not that Reuven remembers for sure that Shimon owes him money from the past. He remembers not clearly that Shimon owes him. He remembers besofik. He thinks maybe Shimon owes me money, maybe not. I'm not sure. And therefore I'll grab his talis and I'll get the talis. And therefore we want him to make a shvur, so he should admit, because Reuven's not even sure that Shimon owes him money. It says the Gemara, if so, if he's grabbing money misofik, Reuven's not sure that Shimon owes him money, and he's still grabbing his talis and he wants to take his talis misofik, so maybe he'll also make a shvur misofik. And he's going to say, oh, maybe Shimon owes me, and therefore I'm going to make a shvur and get half the talis like he's willing to grab it misofik. He'll also make a shvur misofik. Says Rav Sheish, the son of Rav Idi, no. From a sofik shvur, people won't make a sofik shvur l'sheker. But sofik memoina they will take. And what the reason is? The reason is because if I take money that I'm a sofik belongs to me or not, I say to myself, okay, if I find out that the guy didn't really owe me money, I'll give it to him back. If I made a shvur l'sheker, there's no way going back. There's no way of doing tshuva. So I'm not going to make a shvur misofik. But if someone choshed a mamoina to steal for no reason, not sofik mamoina, a shvur won't help because choshed a mamoina, choshed a shvur also. So it comes out that we have two pshatim in the Mishnah why we mechayev him a shvur. Rabbi Yochanan, because shelo yeh echad toikev b'talisa shel chaverei, someone shouldn't grab someone's talis. And Lefi Abaye, the reason is that someone shouldn't, who has a sofik choy from the other person, shouldn't grab the talis. The Gemara continues, and the Gemara asks the Shaila, b'shem Reb Zera, what's the din? Reuven and Shimon came to Beis Din holding the talis, and Reuven grabbed the talis of Shimon, and now it's all in Reuven's hands. What's the din? Says the Gemara, what are we talking about? If when he grabbed the talis of Shimon, Shimon kept quiet, so it means Shimon admitted that it belongs to Reuven, so it should all go to Reuven. And if Shimon screamed, so what do you expect him to do? Reuven's stronger than him, he managed to grab off him. What could he have done? We saw that they were both muchzik and he grabbed off him by force. So what's a shaila? Says the Gemara, I'll tell you what's a shaila. The shaila is in a case where Reuven grabbed it and Shimon kept quiet, and towards the end of the grabbing, then Shimon screamed and said, why are you stealing my talis from me? So the shaila is, because Shimon was quiet at the beginning, it means he admits it belongs to Reuven. Or maybe, no, he was quiet because he saw it was in front of Beis Din and he thought Beis Din will do something, and then he saw, nothing's happening, so he screamed. But really he was moichen against it. And therefore, we should say the din should be yachloiku b'shvur, like we said before. Says Rav Nachman, I'll bring you a raya because there's a Bryce on our Mishnah and it says, when did the Mishnah talk about Yachloiku B'lo Shvua? That's when they're both holding on to it. But if only one of them's holding on to it, only Reuven or only Shimon's holding on to it, it goes all to the person who's holding on to it. Says the Gemara, what are we talking about? If it's talking about literally like this case, Reuven came into Bezdin holding it and Shimon said it's mine. So obviously it goes to Reuven. We know in Kol HaTorah Kula, the din is Amoitzi Mechaveru Alav Araya. Reuven's muchzik, Shimon wants to be moitzi from him. Shimon has to bring a raya. Why should it be the achloiku? What's the chiddush of the brisa? Elo, it must be talking about exactly our case that they both came holding together, and then Reuven grabbed it, and Shimon kept quiet, and then he screamed. And the din is the brisa says that all goes to Reuven. So l'chor we can push it our shaila. Says the Gemara, no. I'll tell you two circumstances where the Brisa could be talking about where there is a chiddush, but it's not talking about where he grabbed it. The first case is where they came in front of us both holding onto it. And we told them, okay, you have to split with a shvur, and they go out to Bezdin, and 10 minutes later they come back, and only Reuven's holding on it. And Reuven says, you know what happened? Shimon admitted to me, they all belongs to me. And that's why he gave it to me. And Shimon says, no, I rented it to Reuven, my part, and I want it back now. So in that case, that's a case in the Brisa that only one of them's holding after they were holding together before, and that's the tinus. Says the Brisa, all goes to Reuven because we tell Shimon, listen, if you were tining 10 minutes ago that this Reuven is a gazlan and he's stealing it from you and it all belongs to you, would you rent it to him without Adim? To testify, to show that it's really yours and you just rented it to him, you would never trust him. So if it's all by Reuven now, it must be you admitted to him, and therefore we give it all to Reuven. That's one case of the Brisa, and that's a chiddush of the Brisa. The second way we could put the Brisa is in a case of following. It's talking about that one is holding the whole talis, and the other one, the lashon of the Gemara is misrach boseruchi. He's holding the edges or something. He's not literally holding onto it. He's trying to grab onto it. And the chiddush of the Brisa is that even sumchus that we learned earlier on when an ox gored a cow, a pregnant cow, and we're not sure when the goring happened, before the baby was born or after the baby was born, and the baby's dead, and we don't know if it's because of the goring or not, the sumcha says we don't know what to do. We say achloiku, we split, and he has to pay for half the baby if he's a mord. Even Sumchus who says Yachloiku, in such a case, when one person just sruchi, we won't give him anything, because it's not considered sofek. The other person who's literally holding it is called a total muchzik, and we leave it all by him until the other one brings a raya, and we won't say Yachloiku, and that's a chiddush of the Brisa. But it's nothing to do with our shaila about someone grabbing onto it. So the Gemara doesn't answer the question of what's the din. But the Gemara says a new shaila. The Gemara says, if you're going to tell me that if Reuven grabbed it and Shimon was quiet and then he screamed, the din is moitzim yodoi, will take it away from Reuven and give it back to Shimon, and we say achloiku. So igdisha eino mekudeshes. If Reuven, instead of grabbing it, says this whole talis should be kodesh to bedek habayis, hektish is no chal, because maybe on his half yet, but on the other half it's no chal because it's not his, it's muchzik biad Shimon, and even if he grabs it, we give it back to Shimon, so therefore hektish is no chal. Says the Gemara, but what if the din will be when Reuven grabs it and Shimon's quiet and screams afterwards, the din would be that we paskin, that we let Reuven to keep it. What's the din if Reuven was makdish it? What's a shaila? Shaila is as follows. Do we say, since we said Amir Rosole Gavoya Kim Rosole Hedi Domi, meaning that if, when you do business between people, you need to do a kinyan. If I want to buy something off someone, the only way I'm koiner it is if I'm magbia, or if I do kinyan karka, kinyan agav. There's lots of ways to do a kinyanim, but I need to do a maise kinyan. And if Shimon just says, I want to give you a present, it doesn't become mine before I do a kinyan. But that's only between people. But to Govoya, when you want to makdish something, if I say about a specific item, this should be Kodesh, straight away becomes Kodesh, there's no going back. That means Amirosol Govoya, saying something belongs to Hekdesh is like giving it over to a Hedyot. It's like a Maisa Kinyan. So therefore, when Reuven said this should be Kodesh, it is like he grabbed it off Shimon. And we're talking about over here, Tosis explains, that when Reuven was Magdish, Shimon kept quiet. And then when Gizba, the messenger of Hekdesh, came to take it, then Shimon started screaming. So it's similar like the case that we had the Sophic about. So therefore, it's like Amirosoi, when you say something will be Hekdesh, it's like grabbing it, and therefore it should be Kodesh. Or maybe, no. Because it said in the Pasuk about Hekdesh, V'ish ki yakdish es beisoi kodesh. If someone's Magdish's house, it becomes kodesh. So we learn, like your house is in your rishus, is in your possession, so you could only be Magdish something that's in your possession. And since Reuven's tried to be Magdish a half and that's in Shimon's possession, it's no chal, nothing's chal over here. And therefore it stays Shimon, even though that he kept quiet at the beginning and only afterwards he screamed. That's a Gemara Sofek. What's the din? Says the Gemara, Toshma, come and listen about this story from this bathhouse. The Gemara starts on Vav base to tell us a story about there was a bathhouse that two people were fighting about it. Let's say Reuven and Shimon. Reuven said it all belongs to me, and Shimon said it all belongs to me. Came Reuven and said, I'm Makdish, this bathhouse that should belong to Bedek Abayis. So that was the story. So Rab Chananya and Rab Oishia and all Rabbanon kept away. They didn't want to use a bathhouse. They said maybe the Kedushas Chal, and if it's Kodesh, you're not allowed to use it. So they stopped using that bathhouse. So Rab Oishia told Rabbah, when you go in front of Rav Chisda in a place called Kafri, ask him this. Ask him this Shaila, what's it in? Rabbah got to Surah, not to Kafri, and he met Rav Nuna. Rav Nuna heard the Shaila, and he told him, I have a raya from you from the Mishnah. Because it said in the Mishnah, Sofek B'chorois. What is a B'chor? A B'chor is a firstborn. So the Torah tells us that a firstborn doesn't matter if it's a human, if it's a male, or doesn't matter if it's a cow or a sheep, and even a tometic animal or donkey. The firstborn goes to the Koyanim. You have to give it to the Koyan. So here you have a Sofek B'chor, you're not sure if it's the firstborn. Let's say by a human that the woman had a miscarriage before this baby, and we're not sure if the miscarriage is considered a baby or not. Or you bought a new animal and you don't know if it ever had a baby or not. So it's a Sofek B'chor. Sofek belongs to the Kohen, or Sofek it's a normal animal that belongs to the Israel. It says a Mishnah over there, the din is, Amoitzi Michaveroi Olav Araya. And Rav Nuna understood it means that if the Yisrael, it's by the Yisrael where it naturally is, it's his. But if the Kohen grabs it, it belongs to the Kohen. Because now the Yisrael is moitzi from the Kohen. So whoever it's in his position, he's the owner. And says Rav Nuna, it says on that Mishnah in the Brisa, that even though that we say Amoitzi Michaver on Ravraya and it's by the Yisrael, he could keep it, still this animal has Dinei B'chor, and you're not allowed to shear it, and you're not allowed to work with it in the field. You're not allowed to use it because a bechor that's kodesh. You're not allowed to use it. Misofek. So here you're sofek, and misofek you're not allowed to use it. So says Rav Amnuna. Rav Amnuna understood. You know why it's also begizev avoida? You know why it has dinei kedusha? Because if the Kohen grabs it, it stays by the Kohen. That means the Kohen has an ownership in it. Therefore, already now, it has Dinei Kedusha. So, Rav Amnuna was trying to say that also over here, by the bathhouse, that we have a Sofik, and since one of them could grab it from the other one, so someone's makdish it, it's already the Kedusha's Chal. Exactly like the Sofik B'choris over there, like the Kedusha's Chal, even if the guy didn't grab it yet, so the same din. By the way, this is one of the big sugyas in Olam HaYeshivas, Tok for Kohen, Motzim Yodo, Ein Motzim Yodo, and it's a bit of a difficult cheshbon and to understand exactly the sugya, but we'll try our best. So that's Rav Amnuna's raya they brought to Rabbah, that Tok for Kohen, Ein Motzim Yodo, and that's why it's Kodesh B'chora, that's how Rav Amnuna understood, and therefore by the bathhouse, the Kedusha should be Chal. So Rabbi told Rav Nuna, no, I disagree with you. No, it's not true what he's saying. Over there by Bchuris, the reason why it's Kodesh is for a whole different reason, because it's Kedusha Abba Meilel. Meaning that this animal, if it's really a Bechor, if it's really the firstborn, the Kedusha Chal naturally, it doesn't mean that I need to make it and say this is Kodesh and make a din Kedusha on it. Naturally, the firstborn becomes Kodesh and belongs to the Kohen. And therefore, when we have a Sofek, it's a very good midin mominist, you say, and the Yisrael keeps it, and says Rabbi, even if the Kohen grabs onto it, we to give it back to the Kohen, to the Yisrael, because he's a muchzik. But still, it's also because of avodah, because Sofek Kodesh, it's Sofek Kodesh, and the mominist, it doesn't pass in the Kedusha side in it, and therefore it's also because of avodah. But it's nothing to do with how Rav Amnuna learned that it's because the Kohen could grab onto it. It's nothing to do with that. The reason is because it's Kedusha that comes by itself, and we don't know if it's Kodesh, if it's not Kodesh. That's why it's also because of avodah. And therefore we don't have no raya. Because the case of the bathhouse, it's not Kedusha Abba Meileh. It's not that the bathhouse naturally was Kodesh. It was because Reuven was Makdashit. But how do I know that Reuven Bechlal has the ability to be Makdashit? Does it belong to Reuven? Shimon says it belongs to him. So therefore, it's very different in a case where someone's Makdash, something that might be his, to something that the Kedusha is Chal naturally without you being Makdashit. That's how Rabbah is Doiche the Raya of Rav Amnuna. Came Rab Chananya and told Rabbi, I have a raya to you, to your dichui. Why? Because it says in the Brisa, Asfeikois nichnosim ladirlis asa. So there is a din. If you have 10 sheep, you have to give 1 out of 10. You give it, you makdish it, you make it maisa, it becomes maisa. The way you do it, let's say you have 10 sheep, less than 10 sheep, you know mechuyev. And so you put the 10 in the pen, and you make a door that only one can fit out at a time, and you start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The 10th one, you put in a red mark or some color on it, and you know this one is Maisa. So it says over there that Sfeika is, if you had the Sophic animal, that may be, and we're going to learn later on Daf Zayin, Rashi brings it already over here, that it's talking about, you had a firstborn donkey, that you're not sure if it's a Bechor or not. So you can't use this donkey because maybe it belongs to the Kohen and therefore it's Kodesh. So what you do is you poider it on a sheep, like what you normally do to a Bechor donkey. You redeem the Kedusha of the donkey onto a sheep, and you normally give the sheep to the Kohen. But here you're not sure if this donkey is a Bechor, so you still redeem it on a sheep, but this sheep you keep by yourself, you keep it for yourself. Because a moitzi mechaver all over raya. So you had this sheep that's a Sophic, and you had 9 other sheep, and it comes, so it's a Sophic, so you put it in the pen and you do Maisa. So says Rav Amnuna, says Rab Chananya, if you think the din is like Rav Amnuna, who says that if the Kohen grabs this sheep, he could keep it, he talk for Kohen, ein moitzim yodoi, how can I, the Yisrael, give Maisa with this sheep? It's Sofek Kohen. I might be pattering my other 9 sheep with something that doesn't belong to me, because if the Kohen grabs it, it's his. I can't give Maestros with something that doesn't belong to me. Says Rab Chananya, Elomai, we could see like what you're saying, Rabbi. Really, if talk for Kohen, we don't let the Kohen keep it. And therefore, I'm not patterning myself with the Kohen's sheep because it belongs to me. The Psak Samoitzu Chaber Elevrai, and it stays by me, it's mine. And that's why the Sfeika is Nichnosim Ladir Lisasa. So we could see, talk for Kohen, Ein Moitzim, Yoda, we do take it away from him. And that's why I'm not patterning myself with the money of the Kohen. Comes Abaye and says, Abaye, no, Rab Chananya, your raya is no raya to Rabbah. Really, I could tell you, talk for Kohen, Ein Moitzim, Yoda. Oh, if so, why is Feikus Nichnosim Ladili Sasa Lechor? I'm patterning myself with the money of the Kohen because the Kohen could grab it and it'll be his. Says Abaye, I'll tell you what I'm talking about, what case we're talking about over here. we're talking about over here a case where I only had 9 other sheep, and 9 sheep are not mechuyev b'maisa, only if I have 10. And the 10th one is this one, that's a sofek. And therefore, mimon nafshoch, I could give this maisa. Why? Because if this 10th one belongs to the kohen, so I'm bechlal lo mechuyev b'maisa. And if it doesn't belong to the kohen, so very good, I'm giving maisa. I have here 10 sheep and I'm giving maisa. And that's pshat in the where it says that tzveikes chnosim ladilu isasa, because it's talking about when mimon nafshoch, however you look at it, I'm doing something okay. If I have 12 sheep, I wouldn't put this sheep into the pen because maybe I'm partnering myself with the mammon of the kohen, because if tokfoy ein motzimi odor. So we don't have a raya from where Rab Chananya said to Rabbah. Then Abaye said, no. What I said is a mistake. It can't be pshat. Because if the only reason why I'm maisa with this fakeness, I'm only doing a mimon of shoch. Really, I don't know if it's chayev or not. I'm only doing a mimon of shoch if there's only 9, some potter. And if it really belongs to me, I'm doing maisa. No. In such a case, you don't give maisa, because there's a special din in maisa that you only give maisa if it's 100% chayev b'maisa. And if it's sofek, you know chayev maisa, like we're going to see you learn it from the pasuk. How do we know this, says Abaye? Because it says in the Mishnah, I was counting a person that has 20 sheep, and he was counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and bloop, the 5th one who went out jumped back into the other 15. It says in the Mishnah over there, all of them are potter. That's it. I don't have to give any more meisers from this group. Not from the 5 or the 4 that went through, and not from the other 16 I have over here. And Rashi explains that the ones who went out are potter because there is a din, like we're going to see in a second, a minyan aroi poiter. If I had 10 sheep and I was counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then one of the ones inside died, so I don't have any more to continue counting to 10. So the 5 that left already, because when I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there was roi to have 10, there was enough sheep to give maisa. That's it, they potter. That day you counted them, that's good enough. It's not ma'akev, they should be mafresh. And the ones inside, the reason why they potter, because the one that jumped back in there, I don't recognize him. And it says in the pasuk, let me just find it. Chol asher yaver techas hashevet v'lo yisha'avar kvar. That there's a mute in the pasuk that something that went through already, that you counted already, you can't pass him through again. So that's why I'm potter, and this Mishnah says that's why I'm potter for the ones left, and all the ones that are still left inside, even if it's 1,000. Says Abaye, if you're going to tell me, Sofek Maisa, I could still be mafresh, why shouldn't I continue counting? And I should say Mimon of Shoch, if the one that I'm counting are not the one that jumped back in, very good. No problem. I'm giving good Maisa. And if one of them that I'm counting now is the one that jumped back in, okay, he's potter already, because like we said, the one that you counted already, that's it, it's potter. So Mimon of Shoch, I should go ahead and keep counting. And why is it to lose? Why not? Says Abaye, Elomai, what do we see from here? That when it says in the Pasuk, Asiri, it says in the Pasuk, Asiri iya kodesh, the 10th one should be kodesh, we learn Asiri vadai, and not Asiri sofek. That if you're not 100% sure that all these 10 are chayev, so you can't give maestros, and you potter, that's it, stop counting. And that's pshat in the Mishnah over there, that one of them jumped back in. You don't say mimon of shoch, let me keep counting, because it needs to be Asiri vadai. So also the case before that we said asfeikos nichnosim ladilu isasa, and Abaye wanted to explain that it's talking about mimon of shoch because I had 9 and 1 on this sofek. It can't be pshat, because when you have a sofek, you don't give maestros. It has to be that you vadai give it. So if talk for kohen, ein motzim yodo, that means the kohen has a bailus in the sheep. You can't count it when you have one of them a sofek, because it's not asir vadai. Elomai, talk for Kohen. If the Kohen will grab it, we take it away from him. Because Amoitzim Chaver all over Raya means we leave it by the Yisrael, that's Muchzik now, and we don't let the Kohen be Toikev. And therefore you can give Maestros on it because it's considered Vadai. And therefore, Rabba's right where he said that talk for Kohen Moitzim Yodoi, not like Rav Amnuna who held that talk for Kohen ain't Moitzim Yodoi. And therefore, Abaye goes back from his teretz that's talking about that you could do Mimon of Shoch, because Mimon of Shoch by Maestros you can't do, only when you for sure 100% know that it's Chayav by Maestros, you can give Maestros. So L'chorei comes out in the sugya where we're holding now, though we have a very nice Raya to Rabba from Asfeikos Nichlosim Nadir L'Isasa, that by Sofek, that if talk for Kohen, when you have a Sofek, if it's Bechor or not, if the Kohen grabbed onto it, we take it away from him, and we don't let him keep it. Thank you very much. Everyone should have a very blessed Mazel Dika day.